What's going on? Boys, thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, life stuff. I think I am momentarily loved out. It's interesting because more than anything, I feel embarrassed. I feel embarrassed that I'll run into anything solely because it seems run-intoable. Now, I won't stop running into shit because you don't get anything done otherwise, and running into things keeps you human, but at least we understand what's going on a bit better now. The weird, brief thing with this most recent sociopath has concluded, and we will go through events and analyze some of them and bring up some other thoughts too. Sociopath was forward with the kindness and the goals and the stability. And I engaged because I thought stability was what I was looking for. And stability is what I'm looking for, but you're never looking for the singular thing you think you're looking for. In reality, you're looking for lots of things, but you always think you're looking for one thing. Sociopath presented herself as a supporter and insisted that she be used. And I cannot overstate how insistent she was with this. Even when I tried to get her input, who are you? What do you want? And if you're going to be helping me, then how can I help you? She refused all that and also wanted me to take the lead on things, which I'm not used to and I'm not super crazy about. I prefer more of a partnership arrangement, but she said repeatedly and acted in ways repeatedly indicating that is not what she wanted. So, in other words, if you want the connection to work, this will mostly be on you. You'll need to figure out how to use her in a way you'll both feel satisfied with. Which, again, it's a lot of pressure, but whatever. And by the way, tarot cards, always right. So I made my focus, yes, enjoying one another's company, good conversation, mutually emotionally supportive, but the focus, realizing her potential. Because she had a lot of potential and she'd been conditioned not to allow herself to explore any of that potential. She'd been needing for a long time. And she was right. There wasn't a lot there, at least as she was. But I interpreted that as a consequence of all the typical sociopath childhood stuff mixed with thorough repression. As in, to my mind, of course, everyone wants to be more than they are. So that was the direction I started moving it in. I got a hard stop on that. I don't want to be loved for your idea of me. I don't want to be loved for my potential. I want to be loved for the woman I am right now. Which makes things difficult because who doesn't love their idea of their partner as well as who they are right now? Who doesn't love their potential? Who doesn't want to see their partner realize their potential? And who as an individual doesn't want to realize their own potential? And that made things difficult because by her own admission, she didn't bring much to the table. Potential, wild potential, is what she brought to the table. But if that's off the table, then she was right. There isn't much there, and that's exactly what I was thinking. And I felt bad I wasn't enthralled by her exactly as she was right then. And that was a major brakes hitting. But because I wanted to practice stability, that's not ideal. That's, I didn't even know what to do with that. But we can at least practice stability and enjoy our time together in spite of that, but that is a strange and difficult problem. So I pivoted to the in the moment joy. Most of the women I'm attracted to are pretty skanky, and I say that affectionately. One comment about skanks is righteousness is everything. If a woman is promiscuous, wildly and widely promiscuous, because that's who she is, then that promiscuity doesn't bother me. Oftentimes I like it, in fact. What I don't like is women who present themselves to be prudish or maidenly while their nunnery robes are stained white. Not a fan of the phony. And I mention all this because most of the women I like are either forward sexually, as in they engage it, or they're at least forward with the hinting and the wanting and the signaling. But this woman was so insistent about passivity, I had to engage it. Well, no, there was one moment she signaled, and then when I bit, she shut down, and then from then on continued not to engage. And because I'm not accustomed to being the one expected to be totally in control, I realized she was non sexual on a delay. And then, very shortly after that, I got full confirmation, and I dropped it. Because we talked about it last time, but self determination is a big thing to me. I'm not a changing people guy, or trying to force people to change guy. One, because people don't change, and two, because what a person is or wants to be is their decision. Your job isn't to try to change what anyone is on a fundamental level. Your job is to understand what they are and what they want to be, and then make your decision about whether or not you want to follow them on whatever they are. So that was a second spark and gravitational well removed from the equation. And once you get into this situation, you're wondering what there is. You know, is this a relationship? It feels more like casual conversation. And I don't do casual conversation. There is one person I'm talking to right now, and we're talking for two specific reasons. Better understanding the ENTJ sociopath woman, so when I find one I click with, it's smoother, and also because she's willing to attack me. And sometimes that's minor annoyance shit, but other times it's getting hit in your weak spots, which is useful so you can shore up your defenses. You don't get many opportunities to test your weaknesses safely. And anyway, this sociopath and I ended up in this stasis. There's no identity evolution, there's no sexuality. I'm expected to lead someone who doesn't want to be led. And worse, not just doesn't want to be led, because I understand not wanting to be led. Fuck that. But more, not wanting to go anywhere. And I was feeling guilty. This was before I realized we had done very similar things to one another. I thought I had catfished her into a love I couldn't provide her. Which I did, but not in the way I thought. I felt guilty that I was balder-pilled. I don't feel anything. And I think we realized at the exact same moment we weren't interested in one another. We weren't what we wanted or needed. Now, I wish she would have said that. She niced me all the way to the end, which on one hand I understand and appreciate. On the other hand, it doesn't hurt to be real. And it feels really bad to tell someone that you don't want them or need them while you're under the impression they want you or need you or want or need some version of you. I thoroughly felt like I'd love bombed and taken advantage, and now had lost interest and was gonna need to rip the brutality band-aid off and be a bad person. But it turns out she'd done the same thing. The entire reason I love bombed her is she was kindness bombing me initially. And I don't think she was doing this intentionally or maliciously. But it was my fault I didn't catch it. And this is where shit gets confusing if we're thinking only about this, but it gets frustrating if you're thinking generally. Because this is in no way the only time in my life this has happened. Do you remember what I said in the beginning about couldn't overstate how thoroughly she wanted to be used and rejected the idea of being an equal partner or having her needs or desires prioritized? It turns out she wanted the exact opposite of that. She wanted a guy who would override her needs that she presented and then prioritize all of her needs over everything. Which is kind of fucking retarded. I mean, first, that's asking a lot. Asking someone to be your servant, basically, which is what she was presenting herself to be, and insisted she be, and rejected the idea she be anything more. She was modeling what she wanted a guy to be for her. Even if you found a guy willing to do that, you would hate him because of how pathetic that sort of existence is, that lack of self-respect. But you don't even give the guy the option. You're saying you want X and do not want Y under any circumstances. And then when you're given X, you're upset you aren't getting Y. I don't get it. And this is a pattern with women, at least in my experience. And I don't get it, and I hate it. This was just the most extreme example in recent memory. And it makes you lose a lot of respect for people. Because how are you going to do everything in your power to get one thing and then be upset you didn't get the other thing? And it makes you start to wonder, are you pants on head retarded? Are you fucking dumb for taking women at their word? Are you dumb for respecting self-determination? Are you supposed to do the thing that violates all of society's principles, all moral principles, all of your principles, and take self-determination away from a woman? It's looking like that's what you are supposed to do, but I don't see myself doing that, because it's a violation of your own principles, one of the only principles that means anything to you. And you're also making yourself an easy target bad guy. You're evil for doing what they want you to do without telling you. Fuck that. Top to bottom, no. For all those reasons, the principle violation, the vulnerable target thing, but also because, do you respect someone you need to do that for? No. And you can't love someone if you don't respect them. And that was another thing. She started framing it like there was something wrong with me, basically, because I wanted to help her realize her future, or to see her realize her future, because it sounds like everyone in her life had tried to turn her into something she wasn't or didn't want to be, and that would work as villain twisting if I had imposed my will from the beginning by default and continued pushing after she had said she didn't want to realize any of her potential. I went in that direction because she gave me nothing to work with and asked me to. And then the villainy of wanting your partner sexually, like I'm a dude taking advantage of a whore, that's some weak shit too. Because you insisted I take the lead and then stopped the moment you made it clear sexuality makes you uncomfortable. And she apologized for that, but I didn't appreciate it. I didn't appreciate being villainized for doing what you insisted I do. And I think, well, it does bug me. The more I think about it, the more it bugs me. But at the moment, I didn't feel anything. And I think it's because at that moment, I realized I'm good. As in, although I'm willing to be fucked up guy, this is not a situation in which I need to be fucked up guy. She catfished me in an effort to get out of me something I wasn't. And I catfished her and accepted this weird fucked up premise and tried to make her something she wasn't. Although the difference, now that I'm a little more frustrated, is she knew who I was, but I didn't know who she was. You know I'm not Prince Charming, and that's not the way this is going to play out. And on top of that, because I don't know who you are, and because of this apparently... Is it feminist to think women shouldn't have self-determination? This, I think, basic self-determination principle. I'm going to trust you and take you at your word. All that happened was two people thought they had an opportunity to get what they wanted, and then they realized they weren't going to get that opportunity, and then they lost interest. So I don't feel so bad. And it's weird because this frustration is the first thing I'm feeling, but it's not even anger. This was all so nothing. All I can do is build up a little bit of frustration. Mainly what I feel is embarrassed, and I think I said that at the beginning, so we don't need to retread that. And I don't hate her. She was very kind, although part of that kindness was, or is, a strategy on one hand, but real on another. Mainly, I'm confused and a little tired. It's like the end of Burn After Reading. What did we learn, Palmer? I don't know, sir. I guess we learned not to do it again, although I don't know what we did. I don't think I'm gonna stop rushing into things. The goal will be to rush into things better. And also hard rules against women who present themselves in subservient fashions. That's not attractive, and that's not true. What I really need to figure out is how to deal with this woman self-determination bullshit. Is this an instance I need to adjust my expectations and be willing to invalidate a woman's self-determination? I would really prefer that not to be the case, but I don't know what the alternative is. If the woman coffee emoji MO is to try to get you to do things they don't want you to do, and to try to discourage you from doing things they want you to do, and never being able to take them at their word. That is brutal. At present, I am burned out. I feel like I've disrespected love. Now, what we had, brief as it was, I'll contend still was love, but it was a low form of love. And it's interesting because there are so many different forms of love, degrees of love, varieties of love, and I'm sick of that word saying it right now. And I think it's because, despite all these forms of love, you have one love receptor. And if you overload it on a lower form of love, then no form of love will hit right for a while. Yeah, that was so confusing. I don't feel anything except tired. Even that frustration I felt, it feels like feeling frustrated at a TV show. I think I'm just gonna sleep. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.